Boast Busters is an episode that has always fascinated me because of its moral and the different ways it could be interpreted. To begin with, you have the episode's antagonist, Trixie, who is antagonized not because she is talented or even because she knows she is talented, but because she thinks her being talented makes her better than everyone else. Her performance in showing off her talents are similar to that of a magic show, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, shows where people show off their talent is a big part of TV nowadays. The thing that makes ponies hate her for this is that she makes out she is better than every pony because of this talent. That having talent actually makes you a better pony. And at first, the ponies of Ponyville are fooled into thinking this themselves. Applejack, Rainbow and Rarity all attempt to show Trixie up by making out that they are just as talented, if not more so. In a way, they are just as bad as Trixie. They are trying to make out they are better than every pony because they are also talented. But there is another, more subtle theme to this episode. Complacency. There is one point where Trixie tells every pony that she banished an Ursa Major, and we later find out that she made this up. So apparently, Trixie has let her talent go to her head, and she has got carried away in telling ponies what she is capable of. Ultimately, this ends up being her downfall, as this lie comes back to bite her. And I have to say, I really like the way they did this. By having Snips and Snails actually bring an Ursa Minor to her because they genuinely believe her story, it would have been very easy to villainize Snips and Snails in order for them to do this. But instead, they make it clear from a very early stage that they are simply fanboys who just don't know any better, and are blinded by their confidence in Trixie. By the way, while we were on the subject of these two, am I the only one a little puzzled as to why the writers made them unicorns? Generally, the unicorns in this show have been portrayed as upper-class type characters, but there is definitely a working-class tone to Snips and Snails. I've got to think that the writers have plans for these two that require them to be unicorns. Although I do have to ask why their magic show in Showstoppers didn't contain any actual magic! In fact, why would a show like that be impressive in a world where actual magic exists? Hey, look! We can do magic! So what? You are unicorns after all. Skunk also makes a good point that Trixie has a lot of depth to her character, and there is some good in her. Her arrogance is justified by her talent, and she does at least attempt to save Ponyville from the Ursa. She's not selfish or cowardly about it. By the way, if you don't know Skunk, I hope I'm saying that right by the way, you should absolutely check him out. He's done reviews of every Season 2 episode except Last Roundup. Not sure why that is, and while they may not be as elaborate as the reviews done by Paleo or CR, they are just as engaging and thought-provoking. Why this guy doesn't even have 1,000 subscribers is beyond me. But anyway, back to Boast Busters. On the other side of the coin you have Twilight, far more aware of the world around her and concerned what other ponies think of her. She therefore is reluctant to show off her talents for the same reason Trixie does want to show off her talents. Twilight is actually worried about making other ponies feel worse about themselves, in the same way that Trixie takes satisfaction from it, which makes sense since she is still getting to know the ponies of Ponyville, and she is still a little unsure of herself. In a way, both characters learn the same lesson, that how talented or untalented a pony is does not make them any more or any less likeable, and that if you are talented, it's up to you to use that talent to make ponies like you more. One slight issue I have with the ending is the fact that Twilight appears to win by showing that she is indeed more talented than Trixie, which kind of suggests that being more talented was the important factor here. It's not. What's important is that Twilight is using her talent to do something useful, while Trixie is merely using it to serve her own ego. Maybe this ending could have been stronger if it had turned out that Trixie was actually more talented than Twilight. And maybe Applejack, Rainbow and Rarity could have just said to Trixie, "You know what? We really don't care who's more talented. We like Twilight for who she is, not because she's talented. And the fact that you are more talented does not make us like you any more or make us like Twilight any less." This episode also properly establishes the arc of Spike having a crush on Rarity. I always just assumed that scene in the pilot was just a throwaway gag and done to further piss off Twilight. But that awkward scene where Rarity spots Spike praising Twilight cracks me up every time. You can tell Spike still feels a little nervous around Rarity, and Rarity isn't sure what to think of Spike yet. Also, love Carrot Top's green hair, which technically does fit her name better since Carrot Tops are actually green. But what really makes this episode stand out to me now is when I compare it to the mysterious Mare-Duel. In that episode, the message was really nothing more than, it's wrong to brag, while Boast Busters focuses much more on why it's wrong to brag. Rainbow is put in her place because Ne'er-do-well is better than her. Trixie is put in her place because of her complacency. And the lesson in Ne'er-do-well comes about because of an elaborate plan her friends put together solely to teach her a lesson, as opposed to in Boast Busters, where it comes about because of an unfortunate misunderstanding and an act of foolishness by characters that just don't know any better. Boast Busters truly is one of the best episodes of Season 1. What a shame the writer only wrote one other episode. About making other ponies feel worse about themselves in the